war is an ugly thing. It is the worst position we could put man in, and yet the most important place that we need him to be.
Duty, honor, country. Those three hallowed words reverently dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be.
And there's nothing you can do, nothing in training that replicates the reality of combat. There's stuff that never goes away. It just never will. I mean, it's indelibly stamped on your, you know, on your heart.
U.S. service members were killed, 73 were injured, as many as 1,000 Somalis killed in the 18-hour firefight.
It was 25 years ago, a quarter century, actually half my lifetime ago, when we went on a mission to capture a Somali warlord. That mission, Operation Gothic Serpent, tragically gave birth to the rescue mission Black Hawk Down. The book, the film, largely true. We flew in and engaged a mob of heavily armed Somalis. There was an 18-hour firefight in the streets of Mogadishu. We took lives and we lost lives. Brave American men died in a place most Americans couldn't find on a map then or now. Then we went home. Some left the service, some like myself stayed. A quarter century later, there were things I wanted to know.
Ready, lower, lower.
Lingering questions. Could the military's medical capabilities of today have saved the lives of the guys who fought with me? And what is life like for all our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines deployed right now in Iraq, in Syria, in East Africa, and where I'm headed, Afghanistan? And one other question. After 17 years, why aren't more Americans talking about all those soldiers out on all those lonely and dangerous outposts? It's been 10 years since I've been on a military flight. This one, 16 hours from Dover Air Force Base to Bagram, Afghanistan. A reminder of just how uncomfortable mil-air can be. The aircraft, the workhorse C-17, will fly to Ramstein, Germany, refuel, then head southeast to the rugged, landlocked birthplace of the 9/11 attacks, the home of Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and now ISIS. The C-17 crosses over the foreboding Hindu Kush Mountains and begins a steep, serpentine combat approach into the base at Bagram Airfield. There are low odds a lucky shot will hit the aircraft, and it is equipped with flares to redirect fire. Still, the landings are almost always steep, with lights out. We are on the ground at the huge base, which is in a geographic bowl surrounded by snow-capped mountains. But it's only our first stop. I wanted to go forward to where the fighting is most intense and the stakes are highest. To Forward Operating Base Fenty, named after an Army lieutenant colonel who died in a Chinook crash. To say that Operation Resolute Support, the latest incarnation of America's commitment to Afghanistan is underreported is a gross understatement. The mission gets scant news coverage, yet 16,000 American troops are in bases and smaller FOBs, forward operating bases, all over the country. The one we are headed to knows a lot about fighting. A fellow ranger filled me in.
So I was asking my new tour guide here, looking out the port side window, if that's where the Taliban is. He said, no, they're not off the port side, they're at this side. They're way back in the valley behind us. And I asked him about the fighters that are going today and who we're fighting. And it's a lot of a mixture of the Taliban and the Haqqani network and ISIS and just any other nut that wants to get into the fight.
FOB Fenty is much smaller and much more vulnerable than the bigger bases. It is a spare, grim place. Its history is a stark reminder of the toll taken here in the last 17 years. That plaque on the wall, right over there, Twin Towers, September 11th, 2001. I mean, it's the event that got us here in the first place. You ever stop to think about why we're doing what we're doing, it starts right there. And then you look over at all the plaques in this memorial, you know, from all the units that have had brigade commands here. There's 274 names total on all these plaques of all soldiers from commands that were stationed right here in the last 17 years. 274 American sons and daughters that made the ultimate sacrifice supporting this mission. And today we continue supporting this mission by pushing the Afghan National Army out in front. Which puts their soldiers at the tip of the offensive. We are just 1 hour into our embed at Forward Operating Base Fenty in the always kinetic southeastern part of the country. A call for help. An improvised mine, or IED, has blown the leg off an Afghan soldier. He's bleeding out. He's an ally, trained by the U.S. military to fight the Taliban, which has a menacing presence in this part of the country, not far from the Pakistan border. 2 Blackhawks launch to the scene. 2 heavily armed Apache gunships follow and will hover above the rescue. This is Afghanistan today, a partnership. When they need us, we have their backs. The pickup is made, the Black Hawk sweeps in, an airborne ambulance with a patient at death's door. The Afghan soldier is treated like an American soldier, like a brother. The injuries are horrifying.
1, 2, 3. All right, go to work on Augie on this side.
One leg is gone. A traumatic amputation is the terminology used.
18001-053. Expires 25 April, O positive.
The other leg is badly damaged. One arm may have to be amputated by the Army surgeon.
Heart rate
Pulse rate of
149.
149.
We got the rest of those labs back.
You go down, do the assessment, massive bleeding.
Massive hemorrhage, apparent, obviously with any kind of amputation. So we got blood started on en route.
Put his head down.
Slap it down a little bit.
The flight time, we only had time to run one unit of blood. He ended up taking, I think it was 7 or 8 once he got here.
I believe he took a total of 9 throughout his procedures in the operating room.
The body of a man his size only contains about 10 units of blood. Matter of fact, as they seem, this team of pilot, medic, and guardian angels, the military name for the Apache gunships orbiting above, just saved that guy's life.
The patient that came in yesterday from the attack has gone through 2 hours of surgery. 2 of his 3 limbs have been saved. He's been stabilized and is going to be sent up to Bagram, about an hour and a half away from here, where he'll be met by one of the greatest thoracic surgeons in the country who are going to absolutely take his life to the next level of care. Unbelievable process of delivery from the point of contact to recovery.
For 17 years, through the Afghanistan and Iraq campaigns, Air Force aeromedical teams have been the lifeline at the point of battlefield injury.
On the back of the ear, I got a hole the size of a golf ball in my arm and strapped on my leg. Other than that, I'm good.
Like entering into the gates of hell. You see nothing but blood and glass and flames shooting over you. There's a little piece on the turret that basically saved my life. And at that time, you just realize that I don't know if I'm going to survive this.
You do not have time to cry. You do not have time to feel. You basically put those feelings in a box and you put them over here on the counter.
All right, everyone, I'd like you to meet Matt.
Hello, everybody. This is the medical team on call for all of Afghanistan. Doctors, nurses, and airmen who leave home for 6 months at a time, travel 7,000 miles, and risk their lives to treat war injured in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. What's been the greatest advance, if you've seen one? Is there one thing that you could say has been really dramatic in our
there's
ability?
Been several. We have gotten better and better and better, and if you were to graph the mortality rate, you can see it going down over the last decades. Now we approach, instead of airway first, we approach massive hemorrhage first. We throw in tourniquets, for example.
Blood pressure is 76/24.
Probably the other big thing is we didn't understand very well how to give blood products to people who are massively hemorrhaging. And the trauma surgeons figured out that there was a way to transfuse where you would replicate more of the blood the casualty was bleeding. We were kind of not doing it the correct way.
Oh, this is our second unit of whole blood. You want 2 units of FMK? Yeah.
I think the biggest improvement that we can attest here is that our equipment has gotten smaller and leaner for us to be able to deploy at a shorter amount of time and more effectively.
So, we're a deployed family, right? This is all about people. What we do is about helping others. And this sounds cliche maybe, but we serve those who serve.
The beneficiary of all those years of real-world training is this Afghan soldier on this day in this dangerous place.
He went to the operating room again yesterday, and given his whole physiologic picture between the orthopedic surgeons and my team, we made the decision he should have his lower extremity amputated because the devitalized tissue was really just making him worse.
My mind veers back to 25 years ago, the firefight, the men who fought with us, the men we couldn't save. I'm wondering how some of those soldiers that I was with that 25 years ago either died on the battlefield or died at the cache perhaps could have survived given where we are today.
Yeah, I think there's no question. We've made tons of progress. Just the immediate buddy care that you get, especially with having tourniquets on just about everybody and getting immediate control of external bleeding and extremity bleeding specifically.
So the answer is yes. Some of the men we lost on October 3rd, 1993 may have survived if we knew then what we know now. But that has always been the way of war. This process has been and will be repeated thousands of times, too often with American service members. It's what a soldier must reckon with the day the uniform goes on. The prospect of suffering, the trauma of injury, or the emotional toll of losing the person fighting beside them. There are images you simply can't unsee. Experiences you can't erase from memory.
Some of them are going to be sacrificing their limbs, and some of them were going to be sacrificing their eyesight, and some of them were going to be burned, and they were not going to come back the same. And the ones who weren't wounded physically, they had seen those things happen. Boys become men and girls become women. There's no other test in life than war that's going to mature you and make you become an adult faster than that. How could they not become men? How could they not think that the carefree world of an 18-year-old is certainly diminished?
The biggest thing is how do you deal with loss? Because it may be loss of a limb, it may be loss of a relationship, and loss of a friend. And in the military, we have these big expectations. We're taught to, fight to win. And the biggest thing I try to do is build those relationships. Who are around those people around you that you can trust?
Military bases and war zones are deadly serious places. You have to experience living in one to understand how out of line with normal life this is, how far away from home you feel. Noble efforts are made. John Stewart was in Bagram with the USO when we were embedded.
I keep working to make America the kind of country that deserves the effort and the sacrifice that you bring to it. So thank you very much, all you guys, and give yourselves a nice round of applause. Now let's get this damn thing going.
But it doesn't take long to snap back to reality.
Continue to take cover. Sector security sweeps in progress.
What would be terrifying to most is routine on a base in Afghanistan. On our second to last morning, a projectile was launched and landed on the base, the third attack in 3 days. Those outdoors take cover. No one is hurt as armored vehicles rumble by. Just another day in a place not so affectionately known as the Suck. Some will dispute the saying, there are no atheists in foxholes, but most who have gone to war acknowledge there are rituals they perform and good luck charms they carry with them. I am no different.
So here's what I carried. The first flag I got when I deployed to Mogadishu in 1993. Serviceman's prayer card. The picture of Mary on the back. These combat rosary beads with this St. Christopher's medal that was my grandfather's. That's been on every mission I've ever been on. And then when I went to Iraq, I brought these pictures laminated. One of my wife, Tori, was in 2006, and the other of my daughter, Molly, who was 3 then. But those went with me on every mission in Iraq. These went on every mission with me in Somalia and then beyond. They brought me good luck.
Evil stalks this broken country. During our visit, 2 suicide bombers working in tandem killed 25 people in the city of Kabul. 9 victims were journalists rushing to cover the first bombing. They were lured to the first attack. The second suicide bomber, posing as a cameraman, widened the carnage. And on the same day, a Taliban sniper took the life of Army Specialist Gabriel Kandi of Colorado, a member of the 25th Infantry Division supporting a Special Operations Unit. He was brought back to the United States and his family on an Air Force C-17, flying just a few hours ahead of the plane carrying our crew. The long journey home for a young man after a short and meaningful life. On my wrist is a tribute to another young man who lost his life in a hostile place a long way from home. Sergeant James Casey Joyce was 24 years old. He died in the Battle of Mogadishu 25 years ago. He was one of my men. There was nothing we could do in the middle of that fierce firefight to save him. We tried, but we could not save his life. He is remembered as Specialist Gabriel Kandi will be remembered by those who fought with him and, hopefully, anyone who sees this program. The Air Force aeromedical teams on the C-17, the injured Afghan soldier, the sound of F-16s roaring off the runway, the chaos and smell of war envelop you when you return a decade later. I wondered whether I would ever fly in a Black Hawk again, but there it was, my ride out of Jalalabad, a reliable and rugged beast that was forever woven into my life 25 years ago. As we fly from Jalalabad back to Bagram, there's a jolting reminder of the risk our servicemen and women face every day. Electronic equipment on board detect the signal that we are being targeted from the ground. The Black Hawk lurches and sends out flares to deflect possible fire. The risk passes. The Afghan countryside, raw and beautiful, sweeps below us as we head to the safety of the base. As I leave Afghanistan, I have concerns that we have lost our emotional connection with our deployed and those who have served, forgotten in our war weariness. They are right now in lonely outposts in distant places. I wish you, every American, could experience what I just experienced, see what I just saw. If you did, you might approach a passing soldier with a sincere thank you in an airport. Or devote a quiet prayer to all of them in your local church. We have busy lives, but we all do care. On the 25th anniversary of a life-altering day for me and the guys I fought with, I hope you care as much as I do.
This is my part. This is my part. I was raised to be very patriotic, so I joined the military, and this is what I do to contribute.
I am serving my country and taking care of these young men and women. They're taking bullets for me. They're getting blown up for me, for my freedoms. They're out on the front line. The least I can do is train the folks underneath me, and we're going to take care of those men and women and make sure they're okay.
The legacy of war is something that lives inside of everyone who's ever seen it for the rest of their lives. It doesn't define us, but it will always be part of who we are.
This brotherhood and sisterhood, this camaraderie, this idea that we are making something better, I guess, that's probably why we do it.
He recalls the battle while the final roll calls you in. They were the finest soldiers, it was my privilege to lead. They deserve the medals, men who died, not me. Not me, not me. I just did what I was called to do. You'd do the same if it wasn't you. Not me, not me. But this world becomes a better place when someone stands and leads the way, steps forward when they'd rather say not me. Yeah, steps forward when they'd rather say not me.